When I first started doing Ruqyah, I studied with the Imam, and being in Medina a particular year I realized that I would be coming back and I'd have to do a lot of things that we weren't trained for. They do not teach you exorcism. The curriculum Medina doesn't have that, so I realized I would have to study on my own, so I found an Imam in Medina that did Ruqyah, and I trained with him one-on-one for a while and learned some techniques and some manners, and because the teachers know there are certain verses that are more powerful. There are certain any experiences, the cumulative experiences that Iraqi have done, so I studied a little bit. I'll tell you my first ever, the first one, which terrified me immensely, but it was actually pretty straightforward compared to what I would see later on. I was still a graduate student in Medina. There was a brand new convert that had come to study in Medina, like a literally fresh convert, like a month or two, brand new, completely ignorant about hadith. He doesn't know anything, he just converted and he's still learning how to pray, and he could not know it himself. One day his roommate was reading Quran and weird growling come from his room, and they come in and they found him writhing, and you could tell clearly that he's possessed. And so his roommates start reading Quran over him, and one of them was a friend of mine, and he knows that I was studying with the Imam, so I get a phone call and he tells me to come over. Zero experience, but with plenty of book knowledge. At the time I just drove to the dormitory and the brother was lying down, and I spent 2 hours the whole time there. So many incidents happened there. When I first started reading Quran again with my own eyes, I saw that this very thin brother just wearing a thobe, and when I started reciting I could see the jinn moving up and down in his body, rippling as if there's an alien entity going up and down, and I would put my hand on his chest and I'd see it fluttering away, and I put my hand there and it goes back up and goes here, and I put my hand here and it goes back down. Literally watching his body with my eyes, that rippling taking place. I started to panic quite a lot in this regard. We spent the whole afternoon there, so one of the brothers, he gifted us some lunch and we were all sitting down to eat lunch, and the brother, he's just sitting in the corner by himself and we're all eating. We say the brother, the jinn brother, to join, and he's it's okay, I'm not hungry. Okay, so we're eating and one of our brothers drops accidentally, it's everybody eats from a common plate, so one of our brothers just drops a morsel and it just drops from his hand and he leaves it there, and he goes in for round 2. Instantaneously I saw from my corner of my eye the brother just darted like a snake. You could imagine a snake with his left hand grabbed that morsel and gobbled it down in a very unnatural manner. What did the Prophet, peace be upon him, teach us? When a morsel drops from one of you, pick it up, wipe away any dust and eat it, and do not leave it for shaitan. This brother could not have known of this hadith. The reason why the brother could not eat our food is we all said Bismillah, so he's saying I'm not hungry, but he was starving, the jinn was starving, so the one morsel that falls down, and that morsel was jumped on immediately and swallowed with the left hand again. As well, this kid is an 18-year-old kid, has no clue of any Imam, no knowledge. Again, he's a brand new convert, so I began testing him. I said, look, if you don't leave this guy I'm going to call you. My teacher mentioned him by name, and Jinn said, no, don't call him, and the Jinn went wild. And I said the Jinn that I'm going to call my teacher Imam, and he was an imam I had studied with, and he had just passed away a few months ago. And when I said that, he started cackling with laughter, and he looked at me, he clicked his head like this, and he spoke in that horsey voice you hear in these horror movies, and he speaks. Are you going to bring him back from the dead? I just froze, because this kid had no clue who my Imam was, and he just laughed at me. The dua is a mechanism that protects you from that entire world. Multiple experiences I have had in my own life where my duas have protected me. One day I went home and I was quite tired and went to sleep immediately, and in the middle of the night. There's this state that you're not asleep and you're not awake. That's typically when the jinn's going to come to you, kind of wake you up, but you're not awake. I could see a dark figure coming. I'm half asleep, half awake, and I could see the dark figure coming. And I see it walking in my room clearly, even though it is pitch black, but I see it and it stops, and I know it stopped because there was a barrier between him and me. It was going back and forth. I never in my life, no matter how tired I am, no matter what's happened, No matter what state I'm in, I never go to sleep without reciting my du'as, and I have been attacked multiple times in my life from these entities, and I have seen when I do my azkar there is a wall, and I remember that night clearly that I did my azkar. I remember vividly that entity coming straight towards me, and then it stops, and I knew it stopped because it didn't have the power to come and harm me because I had recited last 2 verses of Surah Baqarah and I had blown over myself.